All right, we have with us our director, Adrienne, and we have our cinematographer, Melody, with their film Deeply Rooted, which is one of many films that you all are producing and creating. Tell us a little bit about Deeply Rooted and the inspiration behind it and what you all are doing, because I know that there were more videos besides Deeply Rooted in the series.
So the video actually captures a walk on a trail in the Philadelphia region along the Tacony Creek. It's actually part of a project called Trail Off, which is a mobile app that my company Swim Pony has created to bring more diverse users out to nature trails in the region. So the story Deeply Rooted is an original story written by the author Denise Valentine, who created the story to be experienced as you walk along the trail. And she wrote it specifically for you to experience as you're going along the trail. And so Melody and I had the idea, because we worked together in the past, to capture a sense of what's the experience like of hearing these amazing immersive stories out in nature if you can't actually get there, particularly if you don't live in Philadelphia. So I don't know, Melody, if you want to talk a little bit about the filming process.
And it's funny because Deeply Rooted was actually the first one of them that we filmed, and it was really it was filmed because it was filmed in Denise's honor, unfortunately, because she had passed. But it was something that really was only planned to film that one. And at the end of filming it, Adrienne and I both looked at each other and we're like, we have to do this for all the other 9. We have to figure this out, some way or another and make this happen, because this was just incredible. And we can't let the other 9 trails that are part of Trail Off not also have a voice like this.
That's amazing. So how long did it take to film each of the videos in the series?
I feel like each video was done in a day in terms of the actual filming of it, and then it would be like maybe a week or 2 of edits.
Yep.
But then to complete the project, it was like a 2-year process.
Yeah, I mean, it's also each story is really different in terms of style. Denise's is very much pulling on local history, and it's a little bit inspired by her autobiographical experience. She's somebody who she worked with the American Museum of the Revolution, and so she's somebody who's really interested in the history. So her story kind of has this big epic sweeping, those beautiful shots at the end where you get to see sort of the entire cityscape of Philadelphia. Other stories, there's another one by the writer Carmen Maria Machado that's kind of this like horror novel where you're kind of like feeling as if you're on the trail being chased by a monster. And so Melody did a really lovely job sort of conspiring with me to think about like, how do we get a film sense of kind of the aesthetic of each of the stories as they're experienced as you're walking.
And I would be remiss not to mention Jonathan from Junkyard Productions, who came out and was actually our main drone operator on that day. I filmed part of it that day, but I was mostly acting as director of photography. I was recovering from a sprained ankle and walking along trail. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. So Jonathan was fantastic. He came out and joined us for that for Deeply Rooted. So it was 2 of us working on the cinematography of it that day.
Yeah, the shots were so beautiful and classic Melody shots. I've worked with Melody on a feature film that we're actually putting together right now, and just some of the ideas that she came up with were just, they were just so creative and just like things that I would have never thought of. And so I definitely know having Melody as somebody in your corner is just so great in producing like really great work. So how far along on the series are you all? Like, did you like tape all 9 yet? Like what's going on with that?
They're complete. I mean, it was quite an epic process. And it's been really fun. I mean, we, as Melody mentioned, we made the first one sort of in Denise's honor as a tribute. But it's been nice because we've actually been able to incorporate the authors into many of the subsequent ones. And so if you go to Swim Pony's website, you can like see the link to all the different videos. And I can send you a link to like a quick one that's got a bunch of them on there. To sort of see the different styles of them. But it's been great because, we can sort of show the author the in-progress work, or in some cases, the author is actually the person walking the trail. It's like a little Easter egg. So it's been a really fun process. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, Melody.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun, especially on the ones where the author was out on the trail with us, because it would be something where they kind of knew exactly how they wanted their character to be, and they would step in with ideas as well. They'd be like, oh, maybe we should film this section of the story versus that section. And that was always a really fun creative process where like it was really everybody kind of having a say of like, oh, I think, Adrienne would be like, what do you think about this? And the author would be like, that's perfect. Or the author would come back and be like, well, maybe this section. Oh, yes, let's do that section. And then that would influence me in terms of, we used a drone for some of the pieces, but there was somewhere we went handheld, so there was different pieces where it was like, what is the vibe? What is the feeling that we want to capture, and how do we want to capture it? And I feel like each of the 10 different trails, it's a very unique piece in itself. And even though they come together, they're each their own piece.
So what is the goal with these videos? Like, what is like your hope, like with creating these videos that, like you want the user, like if somebody comes across this video and they decide to check it out, like what is like, what do you hope that they gain from watching these videos, like especially, or downloading this app?
I mean, the videos specifically are really to give people a sense of what the experience is like if you can't be there in person, or to inspire people to come out and try it. I think with a lot of new technology stuff, Swim Pony, which is the name of my company, a lot of what we do is trying to get people to think about performance in a kind of more contemporary way. So what does it mean to be live and in person in a place? As opposed to sort of what we often think about of theater as kind of like a stuffy building where you have to go and like be fancy. And so Trail Off in a way is trying to say like, well, what is theater for people who are the same kind of people that go to rock concerts or escape rooms or like amusement parks? How do you think about the whole world as potentially being a theater? And one of the things that's really, really hard about live performance is to capture it in a recorded way. I often say theater on film is like a jellyfish out of water. It's like dead and flat and sad. And one of the things I love about working with Melody is because she has a background in live performance, she is able to capture the essence of what the real live experience is in a recorded way that I think actually speaks to what it really feels like. And so I think one of the really beautiful things about these videos is you really get kind of that taste of like, what's it like to be out on a trail, hearing this really personal kind of scary, intimate, funny, all, whatever the aesthetic of the story is, experience, even if you're still sitting at home.
And I think that it's also almost prophetic in the fact that Trail Off was conceived in when did you first dream it up? Like 2018, 2019? It was before COVID-19. So it was not something that was like, oh, we all have to be outdoors, let's do this thing. But no, suddenly we all have to be outdoors, and Adrienne's made this piece of art that is outdoors. So in terms of the timing of it, it couldn't have been more perfect, and it just worked out that way. But it was just, it really is a piece that I feel speaks to a lot of people.
And the 10 stories that currently exist are all in the Philadelphia region. But one of the aims, I worked with a statewide environmental organization called the Pennsylvania Environmental Council. And we wanted to both build 10 really cool stories for this area, but we also are sort of thinking of this as a model. So we're hoping that actually this becomes something that we add to. The app can add infinite numbers of stories. And so we're really hoping to generate interest and sort of get people thinking, oh gosh, like, there are regional trails all over the place. And lots of people, if you don't grow up going out into nature consistently, it's hard to know how to start, right? Like if I'm like, go out and find a trail, like, how do you do that? Right? And so I think part of the idea is to use these videos as a way to just help people understand what it is, to potentially see if we can get some support to build out more of these in the future.
Absolutely. It's like, I feel like, think about how many trails there are just all around the country, around the world. And it's just, I just feel like, if anything, people who like hiking, people who, it's like, I just feel like it's all about marketing, right? It's like, how are you going to market, this product? Like, just like saying something like, okay, download this app if you want to check out like the trails in like the Philadelphia region, or like you want to check out trails. And just like, I can totally see in the future, just like building it out where, you have it, you can like search by like, different states. And then, so it's like, It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this is like, I mean, for the Philadelphia portion that you did, have you gotten a lot of traction? Like, are there a lot of people that have downloaded it, that have, used it? And do you think that it's worth it to actually like expand it to, I don't know, maybe you can start off with like the tri-state area, right? And then expand out, at other places. Like I know that New York, a lot of people are wanting to, get out of the city and like go on trails, but they don't know where the trails are. And it would just be so easy for them to just download this app, right? And then just discover trails. And it almost like, as they're listening to the story, they can actually see parts of the trail, right? So I feel like, is that something that you've ever like thought about, like in the future, like of doing?
Yeah, we're very actively sort of seeking out new partners. I'm a professor at the University of Washington, which is actually so I recently moved across the country. And so
Oh my
we're kind of starting to look in the Seattle area. We're kind of open. We're talking to people all over the country, basically. And part of the aim too is kind of more of a environmental and social justice one. Like the reason we started this project in the first place is, like when you think about like nature trail, right? You sort of close your eyes and you think of, I always say it's very NPR beige, right? You imagine like a white guy in bike shorts. And I think that's really too bad, right? Is that like nature spaces are free and open to the entire public. But I think that, the truth is that like the history of the environmental movement is very white and very exclusionary. And so part of the idea is actually to say like, this is space that you already like own essentially, like it already belongs to you. And part of the project is to like literally put stories onto the landscape that help people see themselves there.
Yes.
So like we have this one, it's a suburban nature trail like outside in the burbs of Philly, and the writer is a Mexican, first generation Mexican poet who wrote this amazing story about a character is a trans woman who dies in a car crash, and then the whole story is her taking a walk to the afterlife with the Aztec god of the dead, right? Like, which is not what you think about when you think about a suburban nature trail. And so like a lot of Swim Ponies work, a big part of the aim is to try and sort of like say like, wow, I might have considered this space one way, and because of this experience, like I get to see it in a totally different and much more exciting way. Because kind of the core piece of our mission is to say like, there's a lot more exciting out in the universe, maybe than even you realize. I think one of the things that these videos really do is they help people get a sense of like, wait, it's a nature trail out in the burbs, and it's what? And when you see it and sort of hear the story and watch somebody walking and seeing these things, I think you really get a more visceral sense of it.
So wait, so Adrienne, did you moved to Seattle oh,
Yeah.
you did? Oh, so you're in Seattle right now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is really early for you. Oh gosh, thanks so much for joining us so early. This is incredible. You know what? It's so funny. I was just in Seattle because I was visiting my brother for Thanksgiving, my brother, and their family. And they recently moved out there. And I think you should absolutely do these trails like based where you're at, maybe fly Melody out and, you all can like assemble a crew like down there and just continue on like with these videos.
Yeah.
And I feel like there would definitely be an interest, especially, maybe this is something that, I mean, I don't know if you're interested in participating in our speed networking events, but like, if you are, you can meet some people who work in tech. Like, I believe, because I know that Amazon's out there, I know Microsoft is out there, and I feel like, just thinking bigger, like you said, you were looking for partnerships and sponsorships and all that. I feel like this is definitely down the aisle of like, like you can get some of these like tech companies to, partner with you all as you create these videos really for like them, you know what I mean? Like their employees, like they're going to primarily be the ones that are going to be, that are living out there, that are going to want to, take advantage of these resources. So I think that that's definitely a conversation maybe that you could have, like, especially you being in Seattle now, where there are a ton of tech companies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe you and I can circle up on that, Melanie.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, because I feel like again, like everybody wants to get out, everybody wants to discover, trails, and especially in a place like, Washington, where you know, there's like beautiful nature like all around, you know, people like wanting to find things to do like in the mornings or like on the weekends, you know, they just like don't, it's like that's like the big thing, right? It's like that you created these things and they exist, but people just don't know that it exists.
Yeah.
So I don't know, with like, I guess like since you're in Washington right now, like what are the things that you're thinking about doing next? You mentioned that you're a professor. Is it just are these like the things that you would probably do just like on the weekends or like on your downtime?
Well, part of, because I'm at a big research university, part of like my job is essentially to do creative research.
Mhm.
And so this project actually is part of the portfolio that I put together to get tenure. And so we're actively kind of looking into just trying to see, are there folks in the Pacific Northwest that we can connect with who might be interested in this? One piece, one of the stories, it isn't the one that's featured in the festival, but one of the other stories that we created for the Philadelphia region very specifically features the indigenous perspective. So it's a piece that
Mhm.
kind of explores the history of the Lenape and sort of like both in past, contemporary, and sort of future presence. And so there's something I'm definitely, it's hard to make a piece about the land, right? And not start thinking about the indigenous folks that have been and are still the stewards of it. And so that's something that we've been thinking about maybe as like a first thing to start off with in Seattle, is to think about a story that invites indigenous artists in. Although it's funny because it's a very transcontinental project. The app
Mhm.
developer is in the UK.
Oh.
There aren't a ton of folks who specialize in GPS-based immersive audio apps. And so Echoes, which is the name of the company that developed the app with us, is based in the UK, and they've mostly done stuff around like immersive music and ambient sound. They haven't done as much narrative work, and so they're really interested in creating some projects in the UK with us. So maybe Melody will get to come and we'll get to go to the UK together.
Wherever we go, I will always work with Adrienne. Adrienne is somebody who I've worked with like basically kind of the start of Swim Pony, and before Cinema Quilt was even formed, we were collaborating. And so I always love collaborating with Adrienne. She's just always has such amazing ideas, and it's always such a dialogue, you know, and it also pulls at my theater heart, because I started in film by being an actor.
Mm.
So it's this
Yes.
backwards way of still being in touch with theater as well, but in a really always fun and creative and kind of outside the box ways.
And Melody has filmed, I think, every single Swim Pony project that has ever existed.
I think so.
And it's partly because I can be like, hey, I'm doing a play inside a historic prison.
I'm in.
How did you two get connected with each other?
Was it JJ?
Yeah, I
It
think
may have been JJ, who's a local Philadelphia photographer. I think it was JJ.
Yeah, and the first project that Melody ever collaborated with was it was a choose your own adventure play, and it had like 128 different variations of the show.
Oh my God.
And so I was like, okay, I am this really young theater maker. I have this huge thing. It takes like 20,000 square feet. And we have to figure out how to get people to understand all the different ways that you might go through this experience. Are you up for it? And Melody was like, yeah.
And JJ was doing photos on it. And at that point in time, like I cameras hadn't quite evolved to handling dark rooms and dark situations as much. So it was we look back at it, and aside from it being super grainy, it still holds up and is still this incredible project. But I think I must have come and filmed like 7 performances, because we tried to get most of the different versions that we could.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I feel like Choose Your Adventure was something that was like, it was super popular for a while. And then like people just stopped creating like Choose Your Adventure projects. It's like, it's not that they're just not interested. It's just, they just stopped being created, you know? So I think that the Choose Your Adventure is always like really interesting, you know, especially like I was thinking about like a YouTube space, you know, where you could be like, okay, like which direction would you go down, you know, like a channel. I feel like that would just be so interesting to do. And yeah, that is like the fun part of it, just like taping all of the different options. It's crazy, 100 different options you were saying that they could choose from. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. So both of you, what is coming up next for both of you, what projects are you all currently working on? Like, I know Adrienne, you just moved, to Washington, so you're getting acclimated to like the new environment, but what's next? What can people be expecting from you all?
Well, so we're continuing to work on Trail Off. That's a big push right now, is to try to see if we can expand the app. As I mentioned, we're kind of pursuing some different collaborations with the app developer who worked with it on us, because we're really excited about like, we're thinking about maybe doing some kind of immersive audio based game, so that it's actually people can sort of navigate through. We're sort of exploring some different possibilities there. Swim Pony also created this is a card game that Melody shot the trailer for.
Oh, great.
Called
Oh,
and so we're pursuing expanding that into an app version as well, actually. So looking to see if we can take the analog card game and turn it into an app. So those are sort of the two big things. And I'm also a theater director, so I'm doing freelance directing about town, that kind of stuff.
great. You know what? I definitely, I need to connect you with my sister-in-law. I will definitely connect you guys, because they recently moved to Seattle area. And her daughter is actually involved like in the theater as well. And so I just feel like, and she works for Amazon. So I just feel like there are just a lot of, I feel like, and you're both in Washington. So it's like, I feel like Washington's not that big. So I feel like I definitely need to make the connection for you too. How about you, Melody? What are some of the things that we're working on?
I have several different little irons in the fire going on, but one project that I'm really excited about is a film for Rushton Farms and Nature Preserve. It's a location in kind of tucked away in Malvern, the edge of Edgemont, Pennsylvania, and they have a regenerative farm. They do regenerative farming there. They also have a bird banding station where they're federally licensed to band birds, and they're tracking the migratory patterns of birds. They also have a program for young like I think 8 to 12-year-olds roughly, for students to encourage them to be out in nature and get out and be out inside and learn about different aspects of, whether it be macroinvertebrates and stream studies or regenerative farming, all of that. They also work with some of the universities and do study. They're at the top of Darby Creek, which flows into the Schuylkill. So they also study that. So I've been out there kind of on my own, a little passion project, filming them all summer. And I'm hoping it's gotten to one of those things. They have a joke. They're like, once you visit Rush, you never leave. And they've kind of sucked me in. I'm hoping that I can somehow turn this into a feature documentary at some point, because it's just really incredible, the work that they're doing. And for the set that they're providing for people to see, like, hey, this is the way you could do it. You don't have to have a lawn that you mow all the time. You could have, a small, pollinator garden as well. And all these different things that how it will impact the environment. So it's been a really fun little passion project that I've been working on.
That's great. So, okay. So people who are watching this Q&A, like if they, are like resonated with any of the stuff that you all said and they want to connect with you all, how do they stay connected with you? Like, what are your socials? Like, how can people find you?
Mine, it's at CinemaQuilt, CinemaQuilt, or melodytash.com.
For Swim Pony, you can find us on Facebook. Just search Swim Pony, so like a swimming neigh, because sometimes people hear it. On Instagram, it's Swim Pony PA for performing arts, so at Swim Pony PA. Or you can just go to swimpony.org. If you want to see Trail Off specifically, you can go to trailoff.com and download the app for free.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, it's a free app too. So people definitely go to the App Store, search for Trail Off, and be sure to follow Melody and Adrienne as they continue to create some wonderful things. And thank you so much for your time, you two, just chatting with us about the film and the behind the scenes process.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome.
Looking forward to seeing what happens with postpartum problems too.
Yes, the feature film. Funny story. I actually found Melody through an Instagram hashtag search. I was looking for local Philly DPs, and I'm pretty sure I did like a hashtag search, like search like Philly DPs or something like that. And I saw Melody's work and I was like, okay, I'm gonna hire her. It was just amazing how just we live in this world these days where we can be so easily connected to,
It really was. And it went into that other file. And at first I'm like, oh, this is junk. And I'm like, wait, no, I think this is a real person. And I clicked it. I'm so glad I did, because we totally, we just totally hit it off. It was like one conversation. And I'm like, I hope she picks me. And you did.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes. Well, it's like, I think the kicker was that Melody also went through postpartum, because she has 2 children as well. And just the fact that, having somebody behind the lens who they themselves have gone through postpartum, I knew that she was going to capture things that, like I would, like not, I would not know about, or I would not, see. So, and she absolutely did. So I think she did a wonderful job. So if you all want to get in touch with Melody and Adrienne, find them on social media. Well, bye everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thanks.
You too. Thanks, Christina.